Everything changed in a matter of seconds. I mean, it is absolutely wild to think about. Welcome to NFL Nexus, the explainer where we dissect the absolute highest stakes of professional football. If you want to understand the hidden, underlying architecture of the league, you're going to want to subscribe to the channel, like this explainer, and comment on what you thought down below. And hey, if you truly want to support our deep dives, support the channel by becoming a channel member. So today, we are looking at the rapidly changing fortunes in the league. We're talking about those razor-thin margins between being immortalized in football history and being completely forgotten. Front office executives are fired, generational legacies are shattered, and literally billions of dollars in franchise values shift based on microscopic details. We are talking about the butterfly effect of the NFL, how a single decision, a single contract, or a single draft pick can violently alter the trajectory of an entire organization. Okay. Let's dive into this, because the brutal reality of the National Football League is that physical talents alone is simply not enough. It's just not. Survival requires a maddening combination of perfect timing, ironclad resilience, and the ability to withstand relentless psychological warfare. And when we say psychological warfare, we mean the 24/7 media cycle that is constantly dissecting your flaws for the entire world to see. We mean the local talk radio stations venomously calling for your job after one bad interception on a Sunday afternoon. We mean the terrifying reality of watching a younger, cheaper rookie take your starting reps in practice. You can be drafted to be the ultimate savior of a city, only to be cast aside when the environment completely breaks you. But as we've seen, being cast aside doesn't mean the story is over. It just means the stakes have been raised to an entirely new, terrifying level. Part 1. The ultimate NFL redemption and Sam Darnold's incredibly long road to Super Bowl 60.
So we really have to start by examining the culmination of years of that psychological warfare and immense public scrutiny. We are talking about Sam Darnold holding the Lombardi Trophy as a Super Bowl 60 champion with the Seattle Seahawks after vanquishing the New England Patriots. This isn't just a victory, guys. It is a cinematic rewriting of a career that many pundits declared dead years ago. To truly grasp the magnitude of this championship, you have to trace his chaotic, deeply emotional path. Think back to 2018, drafted third overall by the New York Jets. Darnold was supposed to be the savior of a totally starved franchise. Instead, he was crushed under the immense weight of New York expectations. This all culminated in that infamous 2020 Monday Night Football game against Bill Belichick's defense. Facing an unrelenting zero-blitz scheme, taking a sheer physical beating hit after hit after hit, Darnold was mic'd up and admitted to seeing ghosts on the field. The league practically wrote him off right then and there. He was traded to Carolina, bounced around the league, and then found a stunning rebirth in 2024, leading the Minnesota Vikings to a massive 14-3 record. But incredibly, even that wasn't enough to secure his future. He had to pack his bags yet again, arriving in Seattle for the 2025 season, ultimately pushing through the absolute lowest depths of professional failure to emerge at the absolute pinnacle of the sport. There is a deeply, deeply human element behind the cold, calculating business of football that we often forget about. Darnold recently opened up on the Bussin' with the Boys podcast, and he confessed that his ultimate dream was actually to be a one-club man. He desperately wanted to stay with the same franchise his whole career, which is just such a rarity in the modern, highly transactional NFL. He wanted to make it right in New York, to win Super Bowls for the team that drafted him, even when things were at their absolute worst and the media was actively tearing him apart. It highlights a heartbreaking loyalty that players often hold on to, which is fundamentally at odds with the ruthless machinery of NFL front offices. It obviously wasn't in the stars for him to stay in New York, but carrying the heavy weight of that shattered dream is exactly what forged his ironclad resilience for the grueling road ahead. And you know, this brilliantly illustrates Darnold's incredible maturity and his deep understanding of the ruthless economics of the sport. Think about the mathematical reality of this situation for a second. He leads the Vikings to a 14-3 record. That's a phenomenal season. But because of two nightmare performances at the very end of that year, general manager Kwesi Adufo-Mensah and the Vikings pivot. They just hand the keys over to rookie J.J. McCarthy. Now, you might be wondering, why on earth would a team let a 14-win quarterback walk out the door? Well, it's all because of the rookie wage scale. A veteran franchise quarterback demands upwards of 20% of your total salary cap. A rookie quarterback? They take up maybe 2 or 3%. Darnold explicitly stated he completely understands the front office strategy of striking hot with a quarterback on a cheap rookie deal because that's how you afford to pay elite superstars at wide receiver and edge rusher around him. He accepted the brutal math of the league, showcasing a mental fortitude that allowed him to move on without an ounce of bitterness and focus purely on his next monumental opportunity.
That mental clarity and that undeniable resilience is exactly what paved the way for this staggering number, a 3-year, $105 million contract with the Seattle Seahawks. Let's really break down the sheer gravity of this deal. At the time, General Manager John Schneider and the Seattle front office were taking a massive, monumental gamble, handing over $50 million in pure, guaranteed money and a massive signing bonus to a quarterback who had quite literally just been cast aside. But they looked past the surface narrative. They saw his high-level processing power against complex coverages, they saw the elite arm talent that could effortlessly drive the ball outside the numbers, and most importantly, they saw a man who had survived the absolute worst the NFL had to offer and hadn't broken. Fast forward to today, and that $100+ million gamble looks like an absolute bargain for the reigning Super Bowl champions. Part 2. The ghosts of the past and being one snap from disaster. But listen, the NFL is a league of microscopic, razor-thin margins. We must pivot the narrative to the terrifying, fragile nature of success. Because you have to ask yourself, what happens if the savior goes down? Behind every $100 million starter is a backup carrying the exact same weight of the franchise on their shoulders. This brings us to the intense, suffocating pressure placed on Seattle's backup quarterback, Drew Lock. Lock's journey is a stark reminder of how quickly a highly touted prospect's trajectory can shift. I mean, he was a prolific phenomenon at Missouri, throwing for over 10,000 yards and 95 touchdowns. That incredible pedigree made him the 42nd overall pick in the 2019 draft. But the NFL waits for absolutely no one. After starting 21 games for Denver, he was shipped off to Seattle in the massive Russell Wilson trade. He backed up Geno Smith, spent a quick stint with the New York Giants, and now finds himself right back in Seattle on a high-stakes, 1-year, $5 million contract. He is the ultimate fragile insurance policy. He takes 0 first-team reps in practice. He holds a clipboard on a freezing sideline, knowing he is always just one awkward tackle, one blindside hit on Sam Darnold, away from being abruptly thrust into a 2-minute drill with a Super Bowl window on the line. So the crucial point here is understanding the absolute micro details of Drew Lock's game, because these are the exact margins that decide playoff games in January. You've got undeniable physical gifts to look at. Lock possesses a powerful, effective cannon of an arm. He can effortlessly drive the football 40 yards down the boundary, fitting it into a microscopic window between a trailing corner and a converging safety. It's beautiful to watch. But then there lies the terrifying vulnerability. Lock has historically struggled to adapt his footwork and timing to new offensive systems. And even more concerningly, when faced with interior A-gap pressure right in his face, his mechanics tend to break down, and he struggles to process short to mid-range throws. Now, new offensive coordinator Brian Fleury runs a highly structured West Coast variant system that relies on strict timing and immediate sight adjusts. In this system, Lock's inability to process the short game quickly, his tendency for his eyes and feet to fail him under duress, could be a fatal flaw if he is suddenly thrust into the starting role. Now, if Lock is called upon, he definitely has the weaponry to make defenses pay heavily. He has the charisma and the arm strength to maximize dangerous playmakers like Jackson Smith-Njigba and Rashid Shaheed. If he is throwing 9 routes down the sideline or deep posts over the middle, the guy is absolutely lethal, and the locker room believes in that potential for sure. But the tension remains so palpable. While he can hit the home run ball, modern NFL defenses are going to test his processing speed immediately. If a defense drops into a complex Tampa 2 shell or forces him to read option routes, stick concepts, and quick slants against underneath coverages, one bad snap could expose those short-range liabilities. It is a terrifying high-wire act, balancing elite deep ball potential against the harsh reality of processing complex coverages in a fraction of a second.
Part 3. The championship blueprint and violently disrupting the league. Let's move to and see how this builds by zooming out from the quarterback room entirely and looking at the broader scale of championship roster construction. Because while quarterbacks dominate all the shiny headlines, championships are so often secured in the trenches and the secondary by young, explosive talent. We call this the Nick Emanwari effect. Almost every single year, one perfectly placed rookie violently disrupts the league and completely shifts a franchise's defensive trajectory from day one. Emanwari did exactly that for the Seahawks last year. He was the missing piece that changed the entire geometry of their defense. He allowed them to play a single high safety without any fear of the run, effectively transforming a very good defense into the absolute best defense in the National Football League. He directly paved the road to their Super Bowl victory. So the terrifying question keeping offensive coordinators awake at night right now is, who are the rookies poised to replicate this exact effect in the upcoming 2026 season? Well, here is the map of the massive, franchise-altering rookies drafted to be heavy-duty structural reinforcements.
In Minnesota, you have defensive tackle Caleb Banks. We are talking about a 6'6", 330-pound behemoth who bends the edge and moves like a linebacker, possessing literal superstar potential. Right beside him is Dominique Orange, affectionately known as Big Citrus. Over in Kansas City, edge rusher R. Mason Thomas arrives with a terrifying millisecond get-off from the line of scrimmage, built to be a designated pass rusher. In Dallas, safety Caleb Downs brings elite pre-snap motion communication and an immediate veteran-like structural leadership to a deeply chaotic secondary. And down in Houston, Caden McDonald brings a massive 327-pound frame to completely anchor the A-gaps in the interior. Guys, these aren't just players. These are human wrecking balls designed to immediately alter the mathematical advantages on the football field. To really understand this impact, we have to dive into the granular physics of the trenches. The box score will literally never show you the true impact of a dominant nose tackle playing in a two-gap system. Guys like Big Citrus Orange in Minnesota or Caden McDonald in Houston are tasked with doing the invisible, bone-grinding, thankless, dirty work. They exist to absorb 620 pounds of offensive linemen, a center and a guard double-teaming them, leaning on their bodies for 60 brutal snaps a game. They clog rushing lanes and command the immediate panicked attention of the interior offensive line. By sacrificing their own bodies, they keep the middle linebackers totally clean to roam freely and make tackles. They're the human shields that allow elite edge rushers to face one-on-one matchups on the outside and become global superstars. It's a completely selfless, punishing role. And that brings us to exactly why these specific rookies matter so much. They connect directly to the fatal systemic flaws their respective teams are desperate to eliminate. Take the Vikings. They are completely overhauling an interior line that fundamentally failed defensive coordinator Brian Flores last year. You see, his aggressive cover-zero blitz schemes require massive interior push, and veterans like Jonathan Allen just fail to collapse the pocket. The Chiefs, which is incredibly rare for a Steve Spagnuolo defense, struggled to generate negative plays. His blitz-heavy scheme leaves defensive backs out to dry if the edge rushers don't get home instantly, so they critically need R. Mason Thomas's speed to take the heat off an aging Chris Jones. The Cowboys, who run a cover 3 system, vitally need Caleb Downs to be the post-safety structural adult in a defensive backroom that drastically lacks discipline right now. And the Texans, they are simply looking to upgrade the interior anchor of their wide 9 defensive front, taking their already elite edge rushing group and turning them into an unstoppable, suffocating nightmare for opposing offenses. Every single one of these picks was surgical. Conclusion: the future is unwritten, and the margins of victory. This is the true cinematic journey of the NFL League. We have woven the intricate threads together today. We've seen the unbelievable veteran redemption of Sam Darnold, proving that the human spirit can actually outlast the harshest criticisms of the New York media market. We've examined the terrifying fragility of success, where a team's entire billion-dollar championship window could hinge on backup Drew Lock's ability to process a complex short throw under heavy fire. And we've looked at the raw, violent power of incoming rookies, massive human beings drafted specifically to erase the fetal schematic flaws of their franchises. The margins of victory in this league are practically microscopic. The blueprint for a championship is sitting right there on the table. The pieces are on the board. The veteran survivors, the fragile insurance policies, the massive rookie disruptors. But when the stadium lights go on and the relentless psychological warfare begins, who will actually execute it? That is the question that will haunt the 2026 NFL season. Thank you so much for joining this deep dive on NFL Nexus. If you love this level of micro detail, do not forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button on this explainer, and drop a comment below with your specific predictions for the upcoming season. And to truly keep these deep explainers coming, support the channel by becoming a channel member today. We'll see you on the next one.